You know, I had this really neat plan for an intro. I had my battle axe ready. You know, we're talking about Vikings today, but then I realized that Revan, my puppy, had a little fun with my axe, and the disappointment just took me over, and now I can't go through with it. Who could take me seriously with this thing? Salutations, everybody! It is Matty here today. Hope you're ready to talk about Vikings and Assassin's Creed because Valhalla got its official reveal trailer today. We're breaking down everything we know so far thanks to a developer commentary that's now available on Ubisoft's channel, as well as some interviews around the internet and Ubisoft's very own website. So there's a lot of information that we're generally going to be rounding up today to get into everything we know so far about Assassin's Creed Valhalla. We're gonna start off with the very important need to know things right in the beginning. So in case you guys just want to watch the first couple minutes and then tune out, that's okay, I understand. But for those of you who are looking for a deeper dive into the mechanics of the game, such as story, RPG choices, combat, the lore, and so on, then stay tuned because we got a lot to go over. All right, let's start off with the next gen stuff. Where is this game going to be available? When can you get it? It will be available on Xbox Series X as well as PS5 on launch day. So I imagine that this game will be available before then, maybe sometime in September or October, meaning it will also be available on the PS4, Xbox One, PC, and Stadia this year. Now that's subject to change given everything that's going on around us. I do hope it does not get delayed, but I'm not really holding my breath here. So we'll see. More importantly, if you're like me, you're not a huge fan of CGI trailers. You're like, give me the gameplay trailer, give me gameplay in general. I want to see the game in action. And I understand that because we don't want the imaginative version of the game, we just want the game we'll be playing. Well, you won't have to be waiting too long because Xbox did announce that next week, Thursday, May 7th at 8 a.m. Pacific time and 11 a.m. Eastern time, they will be showing off third-party games on the Xbox Series X, and then Ubisoft Nordic confirmed that they will be happy to reveal their first Assassin's Creed Valhalla gameplay trailer during this showcase. So I know, like I said, a lot of you are like me, you really wanted to see some gameplay, you just have to wait a little bit longer. Furthermore, on the next-gen front, Xbox has this thing called Smart Delivery. So let's say you buy Assassin's Creed Valhalla for the Xbox One when it comes out in, say, September. And then the Xbox Series X drops, you pick it up, and you want to play some Assassin's Creed Valhalla on it. So you just slide the disc in, the game downloads a patch, and it upgrades the title to how it should be running, how it should be looking on next gen for free. So essentially having smart delivery support for Assassin's Creed Valhalla prevents you from having to buy the game twice because there's a completely different system, which is grade A news. A lot of people were really pumped when CD Projekt Red confirmed this for Cyberpunk on the Xbox Series X, and now Ubisoft is following suit with Assassin's Creed Valhalla. The last bit of what I believe is need to know information is who's directing this, who is heading up Assassin's Creed Valhalla. It's Ashraf Ismail. He led the team for Assassin's Creed Origins. In my opinion, that was the first game in the series in a while to really put things on track. Now, it wasn't my favorite. If you guys go back and do watch my review, I said that Assassin's Creed Origins had a late game downfall. Around the middle to end game, I personally started to care less about the story. The gameplay became very repetitive. It didn't feel as well structured or varied or even interesting. But I can't deny that the exploration was great. The world was really, really well designed and believable. And Bayek was a solid assassin to care about, but I thought that Assassin's Creed Odyssey, which was headed up by a completely different team, carried the torch in a meaningful way, creating Cassandra, who I love, easily my favorite assassin. Which when I said that last time, apparently that was a hot take, but anyway, I thought the RPG mechanics included inside Assassin's Creed fit strangely well, although they ditched the whole Assassin's Creed thing in Odyssey and sort of put it in the background entirely, which I wasn't a fan of, but it's good to know that they are bringing back the Assassin's Creed in Valhalla, which is something we really shouldn't be celebrating, but it's 2020, so, you know, anything is possible, right? But hey, there's some normalcy now in this world. So now's the part where I just chuck information at that face of yours. I mean, we're going all over the place, right? We're going from interviews with Eurogamer to the trailer, picking that apart, to information on the website. It's gonna be a little scattered, but we're gonna try to keep it organized between story and characters, gameplay elements. So let's start off with what I think is arguably one of the most important aspects of an Assassin's Creed game. Its setting, who you're playing as, what's going on. Let's get into all of that right now with the Assassin's Creed website. Become Eivor, a mighty Viking raider, and lead your clan from the harsh shores of Norway to a new home amid the lush farmlands of 9th century England. Explore a beautiful, mysterious open world where you'll face brutal enemies, raid fortresses, build your clan's new settlement, and forge alliances to win glory and earn a place in Valhalla. England in the age of the Vikings is a fractured nation of petty lords and warring kingdoms. Beneath the chaos lies a rich and untamed land waiting for a new conqueror. Will it be you? Now, who you're looking at here is Eivor, at least the male version of Eivor. You'll be able to play as either male or female when you create your character in the beginning. And one thing that the developers of Ubisoft really went into when it came to creating Eivor was settling. Settling and integration, more importantly. Not the raiding and pillaging that Vikings are mostly known for. What they wanted to portray in this game was stuff outside of the brutality, the desires, the violence that I think Vikings are more known for. Essentially, what it seems like the goal is with Eivor when they crafted his character is to humanize the Vikings through himself or herself and the people they're connected to. So I like this approach. Obviously, we can tell through the trailer with some of the blood and the combat, it's very visceral, that we're still gonna see standard Viking stuff that we've always imagined in our head, but we're also gonna see a more human side, the goal of settling down and integrating with society and not being so, I put this in quotes, barbaric, end quote. And I really actually like this approach. It's kind of different from what I expected. So what does this settling and integration mean for the gameplay? Well, it's actually gonna really, seemingly on paper at least, change how we explore the world of Assassin's Creed, how we play Assassin's Creed, and I personally really like that. Now, before I get into the actual details, just know this does not mean it's gonna be like Fallout 4, where we're gonna have like 18 million settlements, which are just places for civilization to crop up. It goes seemingly deeper than that. It seems like there's just one core settlement, which I personally really like. According to the Assassin's Creed website, once more, grow your settlement. Grow and customize your own settlement by recruiting new clan members and building upgradable structures. Get better troops by constructing a barracks. Improve your weapons at the blacksmith. Discover new customization options with the tattoo parlor, and much more. To follow that up, let's hop over to a Eurogamer interview. It really changed the shape of the game we were making. Instead of exploring one territory, then moving on to another, and having no real opportunity or reason to return, the settlement changes the structure. So you'll go on an adventure and then be encouraged to come back to your settlement. It changes the way we're playing the game we're making. At least that's the bet we're making. So one thing as this conversation we're having together here progresses is you'll notice with Assassin's Creed Valhalla that it connects certain elements of past Assassin's Creed games, I think the best parts of them, to this newest title. And if it captures the best of all those prior elements, this can be a really good game. So the settlement system sounds like a much more refined, well thought out, almost what it was supposed to be, Homestead from Assassin's Creed 3. And to a further extent, this may be a little more familiar for people, Far Cry Primal had its own village, and since it's by Ubisoft, I thought maybe that would be another great example. However, I was not a fan of Far Cry Primal, but you did go out into the world, you did meet people who would then fill out your village, you'd complete quests, collect materials, and it would change how your village was structured. But like I said, I was not a fan of that game at all. However, when it comes to Assassin's Creed 3 and its Homestead, I thought that was like the best part of the game because it just felt like there was so much variety in this one area. You were taking care of your homestead, so you were doing little side quests for people living there. You were collecting things to help build it out. This was the introduction of the ship, which we had not seen in Assassin's Creed until that point, and it became a staple afterwards in games like Assassin's Creed 4, Assassin's Creed Rogue. It was hard to imagine an Assassin's Creed game without the ship. So I thought the homestead in general was very exciting in Assassin's Creed 3, and to see them kind of take this idea, evolve it in meaningful ways, really sounds like a great idea, because I love the aspect of coming back to a home, right? It helps, it calms the player down, right? Like there's so much high action and intensity, especially in a game about Vikings. Come on, let's be real here. That you need a place where you can breathe. There's a moment of reprieve. And what better place than a settlement where you can really expand your options for customization, interacting with members there, that type of stuff. Now, what about raiding? We see this happen in the trailer. What's going on there? Who are we fighting against? We're gonna get into all of that right now, starting off with breaking down how raids work, what they contain. Lead epic raids. Lead your people in massive assaults against Saxon armies and fortresses, and expand your influence far beyond the settlement's borders. Command a crew of raiders and launch lightning-fast surprise attacks from your longship to claim your enemy's riches for your clan. So Ashraf actually said in the developer commentary over the trailer that the idea of the settlement is to storm the land with your Viking longship. You're going to create chaos to buy time and steal the riches. So it seems like there's going to be some type of resource system, and of course there's going to be a currency that you're going to use to possibly implement upgrades, whether it's to your home settlement, or they did say here in this point, expanding some of your reach beyond your home settlement. So I do wonder if that does mean that there may be little crops of civilization. I can't imagine you just have one central place on, say, the southernmost point of an island, and then everything else ahead of you is just completely taken over. I imagine you gradually crawl in your expansion of power. But part of these raids is going to be bigger scaled battles. Now, this is another element of a prior Assassin's Creed game, our most recent one, Assassin's Creed Odyssey, which you may be familiar with. I mean, remember when they were a little more orchestrated and we'd have to go in through a loading screen and it would be like 100 versus 100 battles, and they'd be pretty large scale, but they felt very set up, and I don't know, something about them was very disjointed from the game, even though I really enjoyed it. Seemingly, these bigger battles are a part of the raid. And at one point in the battle, during the trailer, we actually see Eivor has a vision of Odin watching on the battlefield, and it rallies his Vikings. This is before Eivor engages in combat with one of what is called the ringleaders. And these are your much bigger, tougher to take down foes who have a ton of armor, very few weak points, and of course come with their own unique abilities and the ability to rally their troops too. Now, Eivor seeing Odin hints at, yet again, more mythological elements that we have seen in Assassin's Creed Odyssey, and how they really embraced that. And it was one of, in my opinion at least, and I haven't played any of the DLC for that game, but it was one of the stronger points of the game. I thought it was very interesting, it was different, really set itself apart in that manner. Of course, Norse mythology is going to be crawling all over this game. We see right off the bat a statue of Odin, and usually Vikings would make sacrifices to these gods in exchange for favors, whether it was before a big feast, some type of event, of course a big battle. I imagine that's implying that there will be lots of mythological elements in this game, which I think will be good for the game. I think it helps make it a little more varied, helps diversify things, and in these open worlds, that's what you need, man. You need diversity, because it doesn't matter how big it is, it's about what the content in it is and how fun it is to be a part of. And if it's changing a lot and it feels meaningful, that's, I think, a real good recipe for success. Combat itself is visceral, or at least that's how Ubisoft is going to describe it. There's the mention of dismemberment, dual wielding being a very key component, whether you could dual wield axes, swords, or even shields. It was confirmed that you could dual wield. Furthermore, you'll have a bow and arrow. You have your hidden blade, which is now returned to the Assassin's Creed franchise, which is weird to celebrate, I know, but it's back. It's on top of the wrist instead of below the wrist, because apparently Eivor thinks this is such a cool weapon that he does not want to hide it from his foes. So this is a new position for the hidden blade, but it does confirm, as Ashraf had said in the developer commentary, that there will be an integration between the Vikings and the Assassin's Creed. There's a reason why they're interested in what the Vikings are doing and why they're able to work together. In the trailer, it was also confirmed that we have a throwing axe ability, so there's that too, but there's not much beyond that. I imagine it will adapt a lot of what we saw in Assassin's Creed Odyssey, which was ability-based combat, instead of what Assassin's Creed was for a while, which was all counters, right? Just hold the right trigger and then just press the square button or the X button and boom, counter, dead, just constantly. You didn't really have to fight anyone. You just had to wait around and press a button when they were about to attack you. And while Assassin's Creed Syndicate did introduce quicker animations, stylish animations, for some of the combat, and I think it smoothed it out. It didn't change how you played, where I feel like Assassin's Creed Odyssey was the first meaningful change to how you played. So when you combine maybe that difference there with abilities, with the evolution of dismemberment and that type of stuff, I'm really looking forward to seeing how they take on combat in a Viking-style Assassin's Creed game. To wrap up our section on combat, who are we fighting against? What is happening? We got a little bit of details from the narrative director of Assassin's Creed Valhalla on that. You will be breaking down the kingdoms of England, and we only see one of the kings, arguably the most major king of them all, Alfred the Great. But there are also kingdoms in Mercia, Northumbria, and East Anglia, which the player will be dealing with according to this narrative director. However, King Alfred was the strongest of the kings and gave the Vikings a lot of trouble, pushing them back constantly. So you'll be battling the armies of these kingdoms, and I imagine as you expand in power, you expand in gathering forces, you'll be taking down these kingdoms in major moments in the story. Are there choices? Are there those RPG elements that we saw with Odyssey? The great answer is yes. Thank God. Right, your Viking saga, the advanced RPG mechanics of Assassin's Creed Valhalla, gives you new ways to grow as a warrior and a leader. Influence the world around you while acquiring new skills and gear to suit your playstyle. So that all there sounds like Assassin's Creed Odyssey. Blaze your own path across England by fighting brutal battles and leading fiery raids, or form strategic alliances and triumph by your wits. Every choice you make in combat and conversation is another step in the path to greatness. Continuing on about the core of settlements and choices that you can make over on Eurogamer, it's at the center of our quests and the center of the decisions you make. We want players to see the consequences of their actions. Big story arcs will begin and end here. The impact of your decisions rippling through your growing community. You'll see the effects of alliances, such as weddings to forge relationships between clans, and the consequences of, quote, harsh choices you have to face, end quote. It's also where you'll see some of the game's romances play out if you choose to indulge in those. So yeah, romance confirmed, choices confirmed. A lot of choices are going to happen in that settlement where you're probably going to be forging alliances or destroying them with other groups of Vikings. I'm not sure what you'd exactly call them, but I like this a lot. I like this a lot because this gives you that sense of power that I think Dragon Age Inquisition kind of went for, where you were at the center ruling this kingdom and you were making choices one way or another constantly, but it didn't feel as empowering or as earth-shattering as I think the game wanted it to be. And this seems to be a much more subtle way of doing so, because you're a Viking leading a settlement, not like a whole entire kingdom, but the idea of forging relationships, destroying them, deciding when to attack who and who may be backing you up, all of that sounds very exciting. So this part, not gonna lie, when I first saw it on Twitter, I thought it was a meme, but it's real. It's real. Sail across the icy North Sea to discover and conquer the broken kingdoms of England. Immerse yourself in activities like hunting, fishing, dice, and drinking games. Okay, that sounds good to me. Or engage in traditional Norse competitions like flighting, or as it's better known, verbally devastating rivals through the art of Viking rap battle. What? What do you mean, Ubisoft? What do you mean? All right, I'm gonna pretend that doesn't exist. Let's move on to online elements. Share your custom raider. Create and customize your own mercenary Vikings to share online and reap the spoils when they fight alongside your friends in their own sagas. Recruit mercenaries created by other players and add their strength to your forces. So some had thought that this meant that Valhalla would be co-op, would have some type of online play, similar to what we saw in Assassin's Creed Unity. This was the rumor for a while as well. It is not the case. Ubisoft has confirmed this is a single player game, but these are online elements that tie into it. If you need a good game comparison, think of the very underrated, under-discussed Dragon's Dogma. Dragon's Dogma allows you to create your own character, and then you could put them inside this portal. It's been a while since I played this game, but essentially you can share your created character with your friends online and other people in general online, who can then download your created character, add them to your party, and then they can explore their world with your character at their side, and it can make combat a little easier for them. So it's this weird shared world element, and so I like that they're adding it. It doesn't affect the game. Personally, this is something I'm fine with. I'm indifferent to it, actually, would be the best way to put it. There's a collector's edition as well that's still available with a statue of Eivor, a Viking statuette, a steelbook case, of course the soundtrack, art book, tons of little pieces of DLC that you can get. So that's pretty much everything we know so far about Assassin's Creed Valhalla. Very excited for this game. Way more excited though for that gameplay reveal. Hopefully we'll see something really cool there. But that does it for me, ladies and gentlemen. Now I pass it off to you. What do you think of Assassin's Creed Valhalla? Let me know in the comments down below. Other than that, follow me on Twitter, follow me on Instagram. Those links are in the description down below. Big thank you to all the patrons who continue to support this content variety, and I'll talk with all of you soon. Stay sexy, stay active. I love you all. Peace.